Alright Timmy, here's your last present.
Wow, thanks Dad, and...
What am I even supposed to say about this thing? I mean, look at it, it's garbage. The only reason this thing exists is to make money. Well, I didn't spend that much on it. I only picked it up for a couple of quid at my local charity store. But now that I think about it, I could have spent that money on a meal deal or something. But it haven't been that price in years. Looking at this, it's clearly ripping off the design of the PS1, so you can place the release date around the year 2000. It's smaller, cheaper, and under this cover there's... That's a funny looking disk drive, don't you think? Well, if we take a step back, we will discover that this slot is actually for Famicom cartridges that look like this. Little colourful rectangles. I don't have any of my own, so here's a Mega Drive game to act as a visual aid. Hold on, if you don't actually have games for it, why did you buy it? Well, all I need to do is turn on the power and you'll see. Wow, what is that, like what? 10 million games or something? I can't believe it myself. Surely every game ever made and another million more on this thing. What was the point of me collecting all these games for when I could have just bought this? I must have spent thousands on all of these, just paper and plastic, collecting dust. You know, if there really are that many games, I'll be busy forever. I can just sell all these off and get my money back. First off, just getting it out the way, in case it wasn't blatantly obvious, there aren't 10 million games here. You can scroll to the other end of the list all you want, and there is in fact a crazy high number shown, but look a little closer. It's the same games repeated from the top of the list. Yes, a whopping 22 games repeated ad nauseum to get to 10 million. Can you believe that? Why go through all the trouble to repeat it so many times to a ridiculous number? So you can advertise what is blatantly a scam on the box. Not much else, I guess. Okay, first game. This appears to be a version of the NES classic Contra, split itself into several sections. There isn't much difference between these versions, however, whether it's starting you off with a different weapon or on a different level. Nevertheless, this is still really fun to play. I got quite a good way into it before dying. It seems to be running slower than it should be, but that may be down to the fact that this console was designed for PAL systems in Europe. As far as the gameplay goes, it seems fine, no glitching or missing textures anywhere, and I think the PolyStation's take on Contra is quite faithful, even with this controller. Oh, that's right, the controllers are horrible, featuring the same baby blue colour as the console and squishy buttons that don't feel great to push. No shoulder buttons despite the design, knocking off the original PlayStations. Not to mention a cable so short it would make Farquaad look like Shaq in comparison. Perfect. Anyways, the next game on the list is Super Mario Bros. I'm very sure it is. The title screen isn't giving me much to work off. Now with this one, instead of running slower, it's running too quick. The speed and pitch of this song are off, resulting in an odd play session for this one. It isn't totally unplayable, but keep in mind that the timing of the enemies will be a bit off. Still, I was able to finish the first level. Next up, Duck Hunt. This one is a chance for us to try out the gun that comes with the system. Only, I wish I could, but they don't work on newer TVs like this one, so I guess we can just watch the birds fly away. It doesn't make the dog less annoying though. Now this is a classic for sure, Double Dragon 2. It started off promising enough, a storyline that hooks you, but after that, I don't know. I found the controls a bit clunky, whether it's the game itself or the controller I'm not sure, but I found myself turning around every time I tried to do a certain attack. This is an example of a screen clear game, whereby you kill all the enemies on the screen before moving on. There's an arrow usually telling you which way to go, but for this one, I just couldn't figure out what to do. This arrow is pointing straight up, and it was at this point I decided to shut the thing off and throw it away. Cargo Legend 2 is up next. This game is all sorts of whack. You jump as high as the moon and every time you collect a power up, your robe changes colour. I don't get it. I must say though, it is quite amusing to watch the character bolt across the screen. Gradius now. Slower than it should be, but still fun to play. Dodging projectiles is probably the highlight for me. I find it so satisfying to nail the tight squeezes, and it's just as fun as Contra I'd say, just not as fast paced. I don't even know about this one. Dino Riki is what it's called on the menu, but like with Super Mario Bros, they hide the title. At first glance, to me at least, it looks like an original thing, but personally I think it's a palette swap of some vertical shooter. It plays like one too, with various power-ups and enemies with crazy movement patterns. The presentation is really friendly though. The little character smiling at you as he walks backwards, and the plinky plonky music that's just so relaxing. From a vertical shooter to another, this is Twinbee. I'm not entirely sure how this one works. It seems there are 2 layers of enemies that you can fire on, but there's a lock-on system that only targets the bottom row. Maybe I'm missing something. This is an NES game, so it's not like there's many buttons to try. Maybe I'll give this one another chance someday. Just not today, or tomorrow, or ever most likely. Battle City. Now I actually knew this one already, so I was able to jump into it right away, without going, what's this guy jumping so high for? Or anything like that. It's a tank shooter, where you have to defend this emblem located at the bottom of the map, from these white tanks that spawn. It seems simple, but if you aren't getting to them fast enough, they will pile onto you, and it's only a matter of time before... Yeah, F1 race. A simple game, just not very exciting. Just get to the end of the track. Be careful though, if you so much as bump into another car, you will explode. But they won't. So like Twinbee, I don't think I'll come back to this one either. Soccer. This game makes me so proud to be a Brit. I would dare not choose any other team to play as. Come on Lions, let's see what you can do. Actually, you know what? I can see why we haven't won the World Cup in nearly 60 years. Conte Energy. I get what they were trying to do here. You use the level layout to defeat the enemies, but it doesn't really work right. Firstly, you can't jump, which is a bit stupid for a platforming game. Secondly, you can get caught in the middle of these lines, and the enemies can just... Thirdly, the enemies don't stay dead for long enough. This game is awful. It looks fine, but it really isn't. That's all I have to say about this one. 100 meters. A simple game. There's not much to say about this one either. Just tap the button as fast as you can. This is where the turbo buttons I mentioned earlier come in handy. Clay shooting split. This one needs the gun again, but this time you're shooting clay pigeons. Not much to do here too, because remember, the gun doesn't work. But this seems awfully familiar. Long Jump Olympic this one's called. Just tap the buttons and jump at the end. Hold on, doesn't this look familiar too? It looks a lot like the 100 meters game from earlier. Maybe it's a sequel or something. Hurdles. No wait, hold on. Hoodles? How could they miss that? Hoodles? Really? Anyway, just tap the buttons as fast as you can and jump when you need to. Right, this can't be a coincidence. The last 3 athletic games all look exactly the same. I know what they're doing. They've split one game into several smaller ones to boost the number of them. The cut and the clay shooting one are from the same game, and this one game here is split into 8. 8 out of 22 games, having 8 that come from the same place is pathetic to say the least. Knowing this, there are technically not 22 games here, but 14. Just 14. That makes that amazing 10 million games even more misleading. How could they do this? Who were they trying to fool? No, I can't even with this PolyStation anymore. I want it out of my house now. I'm never coming back to this.